In this video, we're going to talk about comparing numbers, and I'm going to show you a way to compare two numbers. And here's some three-digit numbers that we're going to be comparing, but before we do that, let's start with some easy, kind of cute numbers over here with this alligator. So when we compare numbers, I want to make sure that you understand that comparing means deciding which one is less than and which one is greater than. In other words, which one is the most, which one is the least. So here's some symbols that I want you to remember. This symbol right here means less than. This one means equal to, and this one means greater than when I'm reading from left to right. So let's go back to this alligator here. He's pretty hungry. And so an alligator, if he's really hungry, is going to eat more. And in this case, more or bigger or greater is the 8. And so look at this little arrow in here, this symbol here. It's open towards the 8, and the smaller end is pointing towards the 2 behind him. So how I would read this is 2 is less than 8. If I read from left to right, which I always do. And so this symbol here, if I think of it as my little alligator here, means less than, and he's pointing to the one that is less. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at our three-digit numbers. So we're going to be comparing 356 to 328. And when we compare, remember we're asking which one is bigger and which one is smaller, which one is greater than and which one is less than. So what I like to do is use the place value. And so I went ahead and wrote the numbers in. So here's my 300s, here's my 510s, here's my 6 ones, and then on this number here, here's my 300s, my 2 10s, and my 8 ones. Well, which one is bigger, which one is smaller? Well, let's start with the hundreds place first. They both have 300s. So far, they're equal, but I can see the numbers get different, so they're not going to be equal. One is going to be smaller, one is going to be greater. So now I'm done with my hundreds because they're the same. 3 and 3, 300, 300. So now let's move on and let's take a look at the 5 and the 2 in the tens place. So now we're in the tens place. I've got 5 tens and 2 tens. Well, which one is bigger, 5 tens or 2 tens? Well, what is 5 tens? 5 tens really means 50, and 2 tens really means 20. Well, which one is bigger, 5 tens or 2 tens? Well, I know that 5 tens is bigger than just 2 tens. So the symbol I would write in there, well, that means that this number here then is most definitely bigger or greater than this number. So the symbol I would write in here is this. So my alligator, here's his teeth here, here's his mouth. He's opening up towards the bigger number, 356. So I would say 356 is greater than 328. And let me show you another way to think about it too. After I've looked at my hundreds and I see that they're the same, then I can go ahead and put a box around my double digits here. And now when I look at that, it really makes it obvious which one is bigger and which one is smaller. So here we've got 56 and here we've got 28. And I know that 56 is a bigger number than 28. So that really just supports the fact that I know that 356 is bigger or greater than 328, really because this has 5 tens and this has 2 ones. But I did want to point out one more thing, and that is this. If you look at these two numbers, you will see that here is a 6 in my ones place, and here is an 8 in my ones place. So that's confusing because the 8 is bigger or greater than the 6. But really, it doesn't matter. This could be a 9 and this could be a 0. And this number is still bigger because this one has 5 tens, which means 50, and this one has 2 tens, which means 20. The value is 20. And so if this is 350 and this is 320, this is the larger number. So 5 tens automatically makes this number the greater number. Let's practice just a couple quick ones. Let's compare 699 to 802. I've got my 600s, I've got my 9 tens, and I've got my 9 ones. And here I've got my 800s, I've got my 0 tens, and my 2 ones. Well, if you start on the right side in the ones, it's going to be very tricky because you're going to think that this number is bigger because 9 is bigger than 2. But we want to make sure that we always start with the greatest number first, the greatest value first. And in this case, that's the hundreds. The hundreds is the greatest number that we've got here. I've got 600s and 800s, and I know that 600s is less than 800s. And what about everything else? Well, it doesn't matter, because as soon as I see that my hundreds are different, I can go ahead and make my comparison, and I know that 600s is less than 800s. And it doesn't matter that these are 9s and this is only a 0 and a 2, because this has 600s and this has 800s. And so I know that 699 is less than 802. And our last practice is let's compare 431 to 430. Let's start with the greatest value first, which is our hundreds place. Always start on the left. We've got 400s here, and we've got 400s here. They are the same. Now we move on to the next. We've got 3 tens here. We've got 3 tens here, which means 30. The value is 30 and 30. So those are the same. And so then the last thing we look at is our ones place. We've got a 1 here and a 0 here. Well, which one is bigger, 1 or 0? Well, I know that it's 1. So I can say that 431 is greater than 430. If my hundreds are the same, then one thing that can make it easy is to go ahead and box the other two numbers, and I'm comparing 31 to 30. And which one is greater? Which one is less than? Well, I know that 31 is greater than 30. So I know that 431 is greater than 430. And thanks so much for tuning in to our lesson on comparing numbers. See you next time.